Hello and welcome to this video. I'm going to talk today about healing in general, but probably specifically about Reiki, as it's something that I offer to people. So what about healing? Healing in general, what have I learned over the last few months since since becoming a Reiki practitioner? And I've read quite a few interesting manuals, if you like, and other people's experiences and such like about Reiki, and it's quite interesting, and it ties in really well with everything that we offer, sort of an Indigo insight. So I've written down a kind of a little bullet list of things that I'd like to sort of cover off, and observations that I have come across or have experienced in giving Reiki to other people. And there's varying different degrees to everything, but this will all make sense as we go along. So the first thing I've got down is wanting to be healed. One of the things that I think every practitioner will probably go through, when it doesn't really matter what it is, it doesn't matter whether it's reflexology or acupuncture or Reiki or a whole myriad of different healing therapies, let's call them, and healing techniques and such like. There is an element of belief that has to come from the healee, the person that's actually looking for healing, for whatever it is, and I'm generalizing here. So let's just say, if we pick an example, that someone, has got asthma, okay? And the options that are available for asthma are pretty much nearly any healing therapy has got some technique to help people to deal with asthma and get over asthma or control asthma, or whatever that might be that the person requires. There is not going to be any success in any therapy, in my belief system, unless the person that's looking for the healing firmly believes that something's going to happen. And one of the things that needs to be dismissed, really, as a healer, and I've known other healers as well, the healing doesn't come from the healer. The healing comes from within the patient or the healee. The person that wants to be healed is the person that's actually ultimately doing the healing. They are healing themselves. They're healing their physical body, their psychology, their chakra system, their spiritual, the spiritual aspects and such like. So I think that needs to be sort of mentioned first of all, that when you go to a therapist or a healer, the person that you're going to, the healer, is really a facilitator. Is somebody who is able to help you as the healee, as the person wanting the healing, to deal with whatever it is, whatever dis-ease is going on, or whatever illness or ailment or whatever is going on with you. So that needs to be, and I always say that when I give a little talk to anyone that's never had Reiki before or any form of healing. I always say that it's not a diagnosis. We're not magicians. We're not a one-stop shop for healing by any means. And very often one session isn't going to accomplish an awful lot. It depends on the person. Okay, I have had situations where one full session of Reiki, and some, the person goes away and they're really, and a couple of weeks later, they come back and they feedback and they, oh wow, all of a sudden I can hear now and things, because they were suffering from tinnitus and they were feeling like they were going deaf, as I did. These things take time. You have a session. You don't get immediate effects very often. Most people that I've done Reiki with tend to find that it's 2 to 3 days after they have a session that they start to feel the benefits. And then, of course, there is the ongoing healing that needs to happen as well. So people need to continue the healing. If the issue has come from childhood, let's say, or from teenage years or whatever, and that person is sort of 40, 50, 60 years old, if that's not going to be solved in 1 or 2 sessions, that may be an ongoing thing. But it does come down to the fact that the healee, or the person wanting the healing, wants something to change. It's a bit like NLP or psychology or anything along those lines. It all comes down to whether the person is willing to change, that they want to change, and that the psychology is right for them, and the situation is right for them to want to change, for something to move on. To a disease it's had its day, they want to get rid of it, or an illness, or whatever the condition may be, that they feel in their whole soul and body and mind that they want this to work. And again, going back to whatever therapy it is, some people don't like Reiki because they think it's a bit woo-woo. Other people don't like reflexology because they don't believe it, that works. Some people don't like acupuncture because they don't believe that works. Some people don't like aromatherapy because they don't understand that that could work. So there's an acceptance. There's an acceptance and a belief that needs to be brought into play before anything's really going to work. And then there is also the need to be healed. Okay, so those two things I think go hand in hand. It's when somebody gets to a certain point in their life where they've had enough of something, they're beginning to get arthritis, or they're beginning to get heart palpitations, or heart problems, or liver problems, kidney problems, blood problems, whatever it may be. A person who wakes up to the fact that they can actually change things for themselves will then have the need. There is a need there, or a want, or a desire to make a change. And that goes hand in hand, I think, with the wanting to be healed, the belief that you can be healed, the belief that you want to be healed, the belief that you can, through a healer's interaction, that you can be healed, that you want to be healed, for yourself. So those things, I believe, kind of go hand in hand, really. And I think also on that is the attitude. Sorry, I keep looking down here because I've got them written down. I wanted to cover all of these things off. Is the attitude toward healing as well. I think I kind of touched on that in the previous, or in the first one, of the wanting to be healed. If you believe that something is going to work for you, then guess what? It will work. If you believe that something isn't going to work for you, then guess what? It isn't going to work. It's as simple as that, really. So I'm kind of saying that the attitude toward it is a bit like having an open mind, having an open mind and saying, okay, I might not right now believe that this is going to work. And I'm talking generically again for any form of healing, not just Reiki. But, if you have the right attitude that, okay, I might not really believe it right now, but I'm willing to have a go. I'm willing to have an open mind. I'm willing to accept, that there could be, that I want to change, that I want something to happen, that I want this illness to go, this disease to, ease off, the pain to go, for things to get themselves sorted out, for whatever that may mean for someone. So there, I believe those three things there, the wanting, the needing, and the attitudes towards any form of healing are important before you even start having any treatment. People I find, and I can't speak for other therapies because I'm not qualified, but I am qualified in Reiki. I very often see, when I have my little talk with people and I talk through what Reiki is, if they don't understand or they don't experience and they don't know what it is, very often I talk it through with them, and they then begin to actually understand what's going on. And I actually say that a lot of it working comes from the belief within. If you don't believe it's going to work, then there's no point in doing it. It's as simple as that. Because your psychology, which leads very nicely into my next one, the psychology of your brain, the way that you think, will stop that from happening. And so on a fairly simple level, the psychology of someone needs to be in the right place. It needs to be in the right frame of mind to accept, what's going on. And in general, I find that most people are willing to either just experience Reiki to see what it can do. And then, of course, when people very often experience the healing that comes from any therapy, really, and they then start to believe that it can, what is really going on is the links and the psychology, the filters are breaking down, the barriers are breaking down, things are being reframed for people because they then start to believe that they can be healed. And in fact, what's actually really happening is things are sorting out from a psychological point of view, things are opening up and people are becoming more aware. And then they're allowing their body, themselves, their mind, their physiology, and all of those links that are going on inside, they're allowing those things to work and to heal themselves. That is really what's happening with most healing techniques. It's not the healer that's healing them. The healer is just the facilitator, is the person that's helping them through, helping their mind, their spirituality, their psyche, their aura, their chakras, their, all of these things, and the psychology that's going on, the belief system, the immune system, and all of the things that are required in order to heal. All the healer is doing is just piecing those things together, breaking down the barriers, making it easier for the healee or the person asking for the healing to accept what's going on and to face the fact that they can actually heal themselves. And people can, to a certain point, I believe that they can actually heal themselves, but you come to a healer because it's easier. It helps you through those hurdles. And that's why people come back more and more and more again, because they then start to believe that things are changing. They start to believe that the healer is facilitating the healing process for them and helps to accelerate things and helps things on a lot faster. So in a way, I've just really touched on the healer's role, in as much as it's the facilitation, the techniques, the knowledge behind the whole healing technique, no matter what it is. And so it's, directing the energies and such like, and helping, sort of make balances. I mean, this is the thing with Reiki, and I would say is the same in most healing techniques. It's all about balance in your body. It's weighing things up. When things become unbalanced is when things start going wrong, either psychologically or physiologically for people, where things become unbalanced one way or the other because of a habit, because of a way of thinking, because of whatever psychology is going on for someone. That's when things start to, your body starts to overcompensate maybe, or it becomes damaged, or it just becomes out of kilter, it becomes out of balance. And so a healer's role, really, with the healee's role, the person asking for the healing, is where we're working on getting that balanced. And that takes time, especially if something has been affected for such a long time with someone, and the effect has come out as in, pain, a muscular pain, some sort of disease of some sort, that's not going to be resolved overnight. That takes time to get the balancing right. And then the focus can be on getting the healing, allowing your body to heal itself effectively. And I'm sort of leading into so I've sort of talked on the healee's role, the healee, the person asking from the healing, for whatever reason. The role of that person really has to be in the right frame of mind. Everything we've talked about here earlier about wanting to be healed, accepting change, accepting that the psychology needs to be sorted out, accepting that there needs to be a balance and a balancing going on, whatever that could be. It could be a multiple of balances out of kilter, and of course sometimes these things are all connected, so one thing goes out of balance, that has an effect on something else, and it has an effect on something else. Well, all of those things have got to be leveled out and until you're on a even keel, as it were. Let me liken it to several years ago, I've spent a large part of my time doing videography and photography, and I had been holding cameras like this, very heavy cameras, professional cameras, for 30 plus years. And what had happened was I'd started getting pain in my shoulders. I wasn't walking in a particularly straight line. I didn't know this at the time, but the fitness person, Ben Skur of Project Active, I might as well mention him because he's transformed me physiologically, found that by analysing my walking and the way that I operated, there was an imbalance. The muscles on one side of my body were affecting my left leg, and so one part of my body was overcompensating for this going on. This was affecting my back muscles and all my shoulder muscles and such like. So I spent a large part, several months, with his techniques and such like, and his exercises to balance out that overcompensation. And all of a sudden, it wasn't until I think about 6 months of weekly going through exercises and such like, in correcting what was going on, that I then started to feel that I was actually centered and balanced, and I was able to walk in a straight line, and I was able to sort of then do this without getting any pain in my back for hours. I'm able to sort of do weddings and such like now, because I now know that I've got to rebalance myself after doing that for 6 hours. So that's, a simple example of what we mean by the healer and the healy working together in order to try and get that balance so that the healing process can work effectively. And of course, that's the outcome. That's the last thing on my list here. The outcome is that the healee, the person asking for the healing, wants to feel, doesn't want to have pain anymore, wants to feel like they can get on with their life more, that they're, that they've got clarity in their head. They're not worrying about an illness anymore, or a disease affecting their life anymore. And that also is important for someone. They want to have the outcome. What is the purpose of it? You don't just want to go to a healer or a therapist of any sort, just to enjoy, the experience. There needs to be an outcome. There needs to be a goal. So how will you know that you're healed? You see, you have to ask that question. At what point will you feel happy that you've been healed? Is it when you can, walk for a mile without being in pain? That you may not have knee problems or pain problems, or can I do a wedding for 6 hours taking photographs or doing video without feeling pain in my shoulders and my back anymore? That was the goal. That was the outcome that I wanted. And so that's also important. What's the end goal? What's the outcome for the healee? What is it they want to be able to do? And that also gives a goal really for the healer, the person facilitating the healing as well, that is, that the healee needs to feel a certain way, they need to behave a certain way, they want to feel like things are sorted out, whether it's psychologically, physiologically, whatever it is for them, whatever illness is going on for them, that they start seeing an improvement. And I must just mention as well, that healing, going to a healer, is not a replacement for the medical profession. The medical profession they are fully qualified to diagnose and such like. A healer isn't. I haven't heard of any healer that basically diagnoses. We have a good understanding of what's going on with someone, and we're not diagnosing as we go along. We don't say, oh, well, you've got X, Y, and Z wrong with you. We are trying to help that person to deal with that themselves. And of course, in all psychology, the person themselves know what the answers are. And so all you're doing is you're facilitating the person, the healee, to try and extract what those answers are and to get the effects that they want, the outcome that they want. And so I very much see my role as a healer with using the Reiki technique an addition to, as a benefit to, you know, the medical profession. So doctors and surgeons and such like, I mean, you know, they have a role, they have a job to do, and they do that really, really well. Healing, any form of healing, is very good at sort of helping the pre-process and the post-process, as it were, and the bit in between, you know, with the psychological side effects, and the physiological, you know, after effects and such like. So, yeah, that's my take on healing in general, as a general rule of thumb, with my spin on it being, you know, Reiki, because that's what I'm qualified, you know, to do, and I'm enthusiastic and passionate about talking about. So I hope you found this video useful, that it's given you some insights into how the whole process works with healing in general. You know, I would say that this is just not for Reiki, this is for any healing technique, and any therapist that will, you know, that can give you help with whatever it is. I think they are the fundamentals to everything working well for you. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again in another video soon.